Dear Thầy, dear Sangha, this is the last part of the three-part presentations on the nature of reality, as based entirely on the book Transformation at the Base, written by Thầy. We will be limited to only two stances in this presentation, stand 35 and stand 36. The rest, we invite you to consult the book and read very easily through the nature of reality. We start with stand 35. Space, time, and the four great elements are all manifestations of consciousness in the process of interbeing and interpenetration. Our stored consciousness ripens every moment. The four great elements here are the belief of the old ancient Indian culture. They represent the earth, the water, the fire, and the air. They are believed to be the four energies of the material universe. Earth represents the energy of solidity. Water is fluid and penetrating. Fire represents heat and warmth. Air is the force that leads to movement. These four energies can be transformed into other energies, such as a waterfall can become electricity and therefore light. We should not think of these four elements as separate or independent. They depend on one another. Sometimes space and consciousness are added to these four fundamental elements to make 6 elements. Sometimes time and direction bring the list to 8. All the elements, including space, time, are all manifestations of consciousness. So consciousness manifests in many forms, as we already know. Consciousness in itself is an energy that helps form the earth, water, fire, and air, and the four great elements as taught by the manifestation-only teaching. Each of the elements contains all the others. We cannot separate the reality into pieces and say that this piece is not that piece, etc. We know that this piece includes all the other pieces. One energy includes another, like the waterfall that gives energy to produce electric light. Our body is an energy, and so is our thinking. Each energy influences all the others. This is what we call interbeing. In the Western logic, the principle of identity says that A is only A and not B. A flower can only be a flower. It cannot be a cloud. But this principle is based on the notion that things are permanent and have a separate self. Buddhism begins by using the idea of non-self to help us look deeply into the nature of things. Non-self is an aspect of impermanence. Although impermanence is usually understood in terms of time and non-self in terms of space, in fact, time and space are one, and non-self and impermanence are also one. The only clear way to contemplate non-self is in the light of interbeing. Interbeing recognizes that A is B and that this is also that. Interbeing and interpenetration are ripening at every moment. Ripening, which means maturation or vikalpa or vipalka, means the combination of many elements that brings about a result. To make soup, we put different ingredients into a pot. We apply heat and we wait. After a while, the combination of elements becomes something delicious that we can eat. Maturation does not take place only once every 100 years. Maturation takes place in every moment. The maturation of stored consciousness takes place in every moment. Every day we are born again. Stored consciousness ripens in two ways: as our person, or we call that the world of ascension beings, or as our environment, that we call the instrumental world. In this moment, we can touch the ripened fruit, that is ourself, our friends, and our world. Tomorrow, that ripened fruit will be different, better or worse, depending on our individual and collective actions. In Buddhism, action, which is also called karma, takes three forms: body, speech, and mind. Our actions of body, speech, and mind, when brought together, create what we call qualities of our happiness or suffering. We are the author of our destiny. The quality of our being depends upon the quality of our prior actions. This is called maturation. Some seeds take longer to ripen than others. Some maintain the same basic nature before and after ripening. Some are completely different before and after ripening. Someone could sow a musical seed. Before that seed ripens, we do not sing well, and the melodies we compose are not very beautiful. But as we practice more and more, the seed ripens, and there is a change, and the music we create becomes more melodious. Ripening takes place in every moment. Our body, our consciousness, and our world are the major fruits of this ripening. Consciousness is at the heart of everything. Space, time, and the four great elements are all display of consciousness. All six have the nature of interbeing. If we look deeply into one, we find the other five. We have the power to create and arrive at a new maturation when we know how to transform the seeds in our stored consciousness. We may think that new maturation takes place only after we release this body. This actual manifestation of our 8 consciousnesses. But looking deeply, we see that maturation takes place in every moment. We have the capacity to renew ourselves in every moment. So let's have a look now at stanza 36. Beings manifest when conditions are sufficient. When conditions lack, they no longer appear. Still, there is no coming, no going, no being, and no non-being. Conditions here refers to causes and conditions. We first learned about causes and conditions recently in one of our presentations. The manifestation-only school of Buddhism lists 4 kinds of conditions, as we remember. The base or the root cause or the foundation cause is called the seed cause, or cause as condition. Then there is condition for development. Then there is object as condition. And then there is condition of immediate continuity. In truth, things do not begin to exist. The birth of a baby isn't the beginning of his or her existence. He has been there all the time, only now does he begin to manifest in that form. A piece of paper, before it manifests, already exists in the clouds and the trees. So things manifest dependent on causes and conditions, and things fail to manifest when causes and conditions are not sufficient. Sometimes things manifest and we fail to be in touch with them. Sometimes things are latent and yet we are able to see or to be in touch with them. 2,600 years ago, when the Buddha was in Kapilavastu and Sravati, thousands of people who were there at the same time were not in touch with the Buddha. Yet, if we want to be, we can be in touch with the Buddha right now. So when the conditions are sufficient, a phenomena or a dharma with a small d manifests. When causes and conditions are lacking, it does not manifest, but it is maintained as a seed in our stored consciousness. When we begin to be angry, for example, it does not mean that the anger is just at that moment coming into being. The anger was already there as a seed in our stored consciousness. Then when someone does something that annoys us, and the seed of anger ripens, our face turns red, our voice rises, or becomes unsteady, and other outward signs of anger arise. But it would not be correct to say that our anger only at that moment began to exist. Anger was already present as a potentiality in our consciousness. So when cause and condition are sufficient, we manifest. When they are lacking, we are latent. This is true of everyone, our father, our mother, our sister, brother, ourselves, the person we love, the person we hate. When someone we love very much dies, the best thing we can do to ease our suffering is to look deeply and see that nothing is and nothing is not. The person we loved yesterday does not appear to be there anymore, but to say that she no longer exists is just an imaginary construction of our discriminative mind. If we know how to look deeply, we will be able to perceive her presence. So that's why we say no coming, no going, no being, and no non-being. So I will stop here and wishing you an excellent week. Stay strong, stay fresh, stay safe, and Vin is bowing out. Thank you all again for your listening.